welcome to this very special conversation. As I reflect on the journey of women throughout history, I'm reminded of the countless struggles we have faced. From fighting for the right to vote to breaking down barriers in the workplace, women have had to overcome obstacle after obstacle. And yet, despite these challenges, women have continued to persevere, to push forward, and to achieve greatness. As the renowned author Toni Morrison once said, the function of freedom is to free someone else. These words resonate deeply with me as I think about the women who have come before me, fighting for the freedom to make choices about their own lives. Women are breaking glass ceilings, starting their own businesses, and leading movements for change. We are seeing a new generation of women rise up, unapologetic and unafraid to demand their rights. Today, we have such 4 hope drivers with us. Let me congratulate Falguni Desai first for setting up this cast of Sheroes in her book. And introducing the Sheroes to you on this broadcast, Gauri Devi Dayal is the co-founder and CEO of Food Matters Group. We have Roma Balwani, co-founder and of RB Group, and the CEO and brand custodian of IDCA. We also have Urvashi Prasad here, who is the former director of Niti Aayog. So all women, thank you so much. And congratulations on what has been a phenomenal journey for all of you. Falguni, beginning with you, my question is, why should stories of successful women be told in the manner in which you have done, short stories in which women are driving their own stories?
So my take on this book was, while we grew up, we had stories about Rani Lakshmi Bai, and there are women at the other end of the spectrum where we have Indra Nooyi. So I was looking at somebody whom I can get aspired to be, and I want to be one of them. So looking at that concept, I wanted real women, real stories. That's the tagline of the book. So somebody whom you can connect to, somebody whom you can reach out to, and somebody whom you can aspire to become one. With that context in mind, and where I was always lacking in terms of mentors in my life, I wanted the next generation to have mentors and people whom they can reach out when they want support. That is where the concept of a short stories, in terms of not more than 7 to 8 pages, just giving a context. You can have a detailed stories coming in later, but it was just to give a glimpse about what can be achieved and what are the struggles that these women have gone through to reach where they are today.
Okay, Gauri, I have read about your story, but empathy, messaging, all that is part of a long journey. And you have made those choices, which certainly means that you have taken risk with your life. Many would say that women are not risk takers, but your story certainly says otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when there's a time and a place maybe to take certain risks, I did it when I knew that I had some kind of job security to come back to in case, things didn't play out the way I expected on my entrepreneurial journey. But so it was a calculated risk of sorts. And I've also learned over the years now, as I've sort of been through ups and downs in the business, that you have to take each day as it comes, and you can't be afraid to take risks. The biggest reward comes when you take those. I know it sounds cliched, but I've experienced that, and I think that you have to keep asking yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? So and what I've learned is that I'm yet to find out what the worst is. So it's really, that's been it's a journey of exploration, really. And if you don't start somewhere and take certain chances, you're not going to find out.
And someone who has taken a lot of chances with her life, Urvashi, my friend, what a phenomenal journey you have had, and a lot of struggle, health struggles, and I'm so glad, and touch wood here, that you have come out successfully.
Yeah, I think mine has been an interesting journey, professionally and personally. Professionally, of course, I'm a public health professional, and then I moved into policy, which had its whole set of challenges, because I went in at at an age when I was still fairly young, and I think a lot of the policy discourse is still dominated by men, and often men who are much older to you. So even to get your voice heard in those spaces is sometimes very difficult. So I think those challenges have been there. But then, as you said, my own personal health challenges as well, a very serious diagnosis, cancer diagnosis that I got 2022, and dealing with my professional life in the midst of all of this. I think it's been hugely difficult, but I like to take it, one day at a time, and I like to try and make the most of each day, because I think each day presents a new opportunity. And so, despite all the struggles, I think the only thing we can do is keep going, and that's what I've tried to bring out in my story as well.
Coming to Falguni now. Falguni, you have been a technology officer. As someone, many would say that women do not get into technology space, but you have broken that barrier long back. Do you think women at this point in their lives, particularly in the context of society that we live in Indian society, have covered several milestones already? So what next for us?
So from where I started, where in my family everybody used to be a teacher or used to work in a college or a school because it was a safe space, to where we are today, there is a lot of journey which is covered by women. My daughter today is doing economics, which is a very different field which was not explored earlier, at least in my family. So they have moved away from the traditional areas which were considered only women oriented. There's a long journey still yet to go through. Okay, we still don't see a lot of women CEOs. There is a growth, but there is a long way to go there. In technology itself, we are still restricted to an extent in terms of if I go into a room of technologists, I'm very sure out of 20, I'll find 18 of them to be men. So I think there is still a long way in technology itself where women can grow. Specifically with the AI coming in, I see there's a lot of scope both for men and women, but for women, adding empathy as a factor and a subject matter expert, I think women can do a lot more in technology as compared to where they are today.
Okay. Roma, come in now. One step at a time, striking the balance right. That's how the chapter introduces you. One step at a time. We should not be taking leap of faith.
I think every time I had to take a leap of faith, because I came from a background where I didn't know what my future destiny as far as my career was concerned. I was just a person who wanted to work and get the experience of life very young. And that possibly was foolhardy in that point of time, but I think it only brought me experience. It brought me many friends, and it also brought me the understanding of what life is all about at a very tender age of 18. And I think that was a starting point. So you have to strike that balance as you grow in your career. So one step at a time.
And Roma, a little bit more about women in boardrooms. How do women in boardrooms really perform? They are great workers, we know that. I mean, hard work, nobody can beat us. Resilience, nobody can beat us. Empathy, nobody can beat us. But then when it comes to leadership role of that nature, there is perhaps only one woman in a boardroom full of men?
Usually, yes, there's only one woman. But now I see the trend has changed. There are more than one woman. I'm on a board which has two women on board. And I think the landscape has changed quite a bit. When I joined, I was a serving executive in a large minerals group, and the board had to give me permission to get onto another board. And I think that was something I must admit that was very forward thinking about our chairman to allow me to be on another board. And the starting point over there was that they had never had a woman director. It was just at that stage when India had brought in that rule that they needed one woman director. So that time it was not an easy task to get your voice heard. But when you have the right skills that they're asking for, then you do have a voice in the room. I probably in my past careers also did the same, that I always wanted to have a voice in the room. That helped me, and I could take that stand. In fact, a funny incident, when I was being onboarded, one of the directors said, we'll have to mind our P's and Q's when there's a lady in the boardroom. I said, yes, you have to. So state your boundaries, but at the same time, make sure there's mutual respect and there's chemistry in the boardroom, that they hear your voice.
Yes, being careful with the language is perhaps women ensure in the spaces that we work in. So, Gauri, who has been the driving force in your life? And when you take risks, you know, you started a restaurant and then that restaurant business has been expanding. Who is the person that you go to in terms of the sounding board?
I have to say it's my husband whom I run the business with. But I think also at different stages in my life, that force has been different people. And I really have a lot to sort of attribute to my parents who, you know, I'm one of three girls, three sisters. And we were never sort of made to feel like you're a girl or a boy or whatever. You know, there was never this discrimination. And we were given, I think, every opportunity that, you know, they could afford or they could give us, and they always encouraged us to take full advantage of it, right? So that confidence that comes in later in your life, in your career and your business, really starts at a much younger age. And so I think that, you know, that force has changed, behind me has changed through my life. It's not just been one person the entire time. Today in my business, yes, it's my husband, my co-founder, and I will say that, you know, in business, especially when you have more than one founder, it's really important to have someone that you trust. You know, you have somebody that you can speak freely with, and you know, hopefully your spouse can be that person for you. So I do know that now more and more women are, you know, especially in the F&B industry, are venturing into the business with their spouses, and, you know, in other industries as well.
Yes, and Urvashi, you know, women supporting women. Women friendship, we emphasize on that a lot more now in India. We are doing that because we realize that when it is about comfort zones, your workplaces may not be that comfort zone. So it has to be about that female friendship that we seek.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even in the workplace, of course, I think women who manage to reach certain positions, there's a lot that is kind of resting on their shoulders. Partly, I think it's also unfair. A lot of the onus falls on the women only. The men also need to take equal responsibility, because, you know, getting women in leadership, getting them in good roles, it's not an act of charity or, you know, social service. You're doing it because it's good for your organization. It's good for your bottom line at the end of the day. And there's enough evidence to say that. So, of course, the onus is on women, but I think it should equally be on men. But friendships, as you said, plays a very important role, and I think both, you know, as mentors, I've had women who've been wonderful mentors, not even necessarily from my area of work, but just people who have been there, done that, and you can seek their advice. You can, you know, when you're stuck or you're in a problem, you can talk to them. So I think female friendships, the ability to understand, you know, where somebody is coming from, because you've probably been there or you've suffered something similar. There's a huge power to that.
Yes, and the power of strong networks, which are led by women, driven by women, Falguni. Because if anything, this book is also a reflection of that network of women.
Yes, that is what we wanted to give. So the reason that this book came in was because when I went into the technology field, none of my family was there from that field. So whenever I reached out for mentors, I needed support. The family used to question, what are you going to do in technology? Is that the field that you ever, nobody in our family has gone, why do you want to, specifically as a women? So I was looking out for people who can guide me in terms of explaining what IT field looks like, what a professional life looks like, okay, and what are the do's and don'ts on each of these fields. I think that is where this book came into picture, that, okay, like me, there are many other women who are there in the field who would require a support to be there, who would require a support structure, and people like us who want to help them. How do we connect with each other? And that is the network that I plan to create with this book.
Yes, so a little bit more about Falguni, you know, of course, this is a reflection of that effort, but women who came before us setting the path for what we are doing, and the responsibility and the onus, I would say, that is on us to make it easier for the women who will follow us.
So the women who were earlier in this industry, specifically talking about technology or any industry, when I saw my mother working as a teacher, I saw other women who were working in that, and I saw them slogging from 5 in the morning till like 12 or 12 in the night just to ensure that they were having a proper work-life balance, taking care of everything. They ensured us that we should study, we should get into a professional life. My mother was very clear that if you don't want to become a teacher, go into professional life. So she has pushed me over there. And now, again, going back to my next generation, my daughter, I want to give her a better than what we have done. So we want to ensure that each generation of women, while we support them, they should be having a better life, a better exposure and better things as compared to what we have got in our lives. Our parents have done that for us. I think it's up to us to give it to the next generation, which is in there now.
Roma, how, as women, we also always tend to emphasize on work-life balance. Do we overplay it? At times I wonder that. Why should it be always about us to ensure work-life balance?
I think this has been overhyped.
Yeah.
I have seen in my own life that the balance always comes in the family because there's a support system that works with you on an equal footing. And I have always experienced that. While many women complain that they have that responsibility much more than the man, I think they have to create that atmosphere of equality, which you should do right in the beginning, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a joint family that you live in. I think all of these are very important boundaries, as I said, that you have to draw in your life as you progress in your career. And that support system is what helps you to navigate your career, be successful in your career, and learn to say no when you have to say no.
Roma, one story that drives you as a professional, as a woman. And that is something that is almost like a mantra for you. It plays in your head every time you face a challenge or a hurdle.
I always remember my father's words because he's been there all throughout, from a gawky girl that I was and who couldn't speak or who couldn't, communicate. And every time he would drive me with that. So every time I feel that I face a situation, I just remember him. I remember his words. I try to match his strides because that's what I learned from him. And that keeps me going.
Girls invariably take a lot of inspiration from their fathers in particular.
Yes,
What's your
right.
mantra?
Yeah, I think, definitely my father also has played a huge role in my life. And a lot of the time, especially when things go wrong, I think he's the one I think of, because he always used to say that, this is just going to pass. If a good time is not lasting, a bad time won't. So just keep moving, keep doing what you can do. So certainly him, but also my mother, I think equally a very strong influence. So I think both my parents, professionally and personally, they were civil servants, and I saw both of them doing very much an equal job. And also having very equal responsibilities in the household. So I think that was a fantastic example growing up, that you can do it as long as that understanding is there, between people in the family.
Equal pay for equal work, there's a lot of discussion around it, a much needed debate, Gauri. As someone who is leading from the front, are you ensuring that in your own space?
I mean, honestly, in our business, it's never crossed my mind to pay someone less because of their gender. I know it's different maybe in different industries, like maybe Bollywood and things like that. But I think in F&B, that's something that thankfully has never sort of, crossed our mind. It's really about output, about skills, and about what your experience. So I think that there really should not be any disparity because of your gender.
So, that thought around the mantra, what drives you? What drives you?
As an entrepreneur, what I've realized is I'm not, people used to say, oh, you're a restaurateur. Yes, I am. But I think I'm a professional firefighter is how I like to think about it, because really when you run your own business, it's about, dealing with challenges, right? That's what we get better and better at. And what I've learned is that, don't sort of cry about the past. and you can't control the future, but what you can focus on is today. So, just tackle today, get today's
Get
things
done with today.
That's what the focus should be.
But women invariably, Falguni, are planners. We plan a lot
Yeah.
about future, we set timelines, we set deadlines, and then we look, we hold those deadlines for us every time. What is future for women looking like?
I think future for women is much brighter, I would say, because there are a lot of areas which are adventures for them, unexplored for them. There are different things that they can try now, which was a constraint earlier. I think the bigger playing field as compared to the other genders. So I think they have a lot to do, but there are a few things that they need to keep in mind. But yes, every field is open to them. They just need to overcome their inhibitions of saying that I cannot do this, or I am a female and I shouldn't do this. I think that should be good enough, because the playing field is now open to all the women around.
So future for you, Urvashi?
Yeah, interesting you spoke about planning, because, I have learned now not to plan. Plans also don't work in my context. So I've learned to live in a very different way. And I think whatever works for you, for me, this is how I work best, is just to look at the immediate next day that I have in front of me. Now, when people ask me 5-year, 10-year plans, I said, I can't give you those, because, I don't have the luxury of planning to that extent. But I think, in a way, it's also what people on the other side keep saying, that we want to live life in the moment, and yet, most of the times we are not able to do that, because we have so many other things going on in our mind. But I think in my situation, I find myself in a place where I have to do that. And I think, often it works out quite well. So of course, the underlying reason why I can't plan is not something I'm happy about. But, I think living life this way is good, because literally you have nothing in your control about the future. And of course, the past is gone. So literally all you can control is your reaction, how you respond to some situation. And that's what I like to focus on.
Okay, Roma, your reaction to a situation where you did not expect that you will react in that way. Any story you have to share?
No, I think this is very important, because every time you encounter a situation, you have to hold your emotions in check. And once you do that, you're able to calibrate your reactions. And that is something I've learned over a period of time, because I remember very clearly when I was early in my career, I definitely didn't have that kind of resilience, and I had to build that up and make sure that I look at things with a whole brain approach and not let emotions override it. So I think those help me to take the right choices, right decisions. And I always tell people that mentors are very important for you. I was very fortunate with the right mentors in my life. All of them mentored me to understand how I should navigate my career, as well as balance it with my personal life. And I think that has helped me in good stead.
Okay, what about you? The future, since we are discussing the future, Roma, how is future looking for you?
Future is going to look very bright, not only for people like us, because there's ageism, which is also something that we combat, but when you reinvent yourself every time, when you're up with technology, which is something I feel very essential in my kind of how AI is really taking over human activities, and that is something I'm very, very curious about, very open to learn, and very my philosophy has always been learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I think future is looking very bright, and I don't think ageism matters for many of us who want to really do what they want to do. I've completely pivoted my career, went into social impact, went into creating a space for disability sport, which not many of us really focus on. I took that up as a challenge. Today I'm very successful at creating awareness for that. This is for deaf cricket. Disability sport is something that nobody wants to really focus on as their CSR initiative in an organization. I took that up as a challenge, and I think I'm paving the way for many hearing impaired talent in the country.
Yes, and I think Gauri is also, looking forward to having all of us at her restaurant. And as she expands her restaurant business, takes one step forward every week. So, Gauri, let's try and sum this up with your thought. Obstacle after obstacle, that's a common thing. I mean, it comes in lives of each and every person. But women tend to be more resilient. They tend to fight back. They realize that they do not have luxuries, like, you know, as Urvashi just now said. What is it that women should do for other women?
Well, I think, you know, of course, be there for other women. But what I always tell women is that, you know, use your gender to your advantage. There's a lot of ways that you know, today, I think we're being given a seat at the table, like Roma said earlier, because of, it could be a change in the law, or it could be, you know, because someone wants to look like they're being, you know, inclusive or diverse or whatever it is. Whatever that opportunity is that's coming your way, take full advantage of it, right? I think that's something that, you know, we need to put ourselves out there, and we need to be ready for when those opportunities come our way. And, you know, right now, I think it is, it's a women's moment. You know, women are having their moment now. And there's a lot more work to do, which is where, you know, these networks are critical to, you know, to playing that sort of role in supporting each other. But I do feel that we also have to grab those opportunities when they come our way.
Yes, so it's a women's movement being led by women. And of course, the movement is also for women. So thank you so much to the Sheroes who joined us, Gauri, Roma, Urvashi, and of course, Falguni, on this Women's Day special. So thank you so much. And that's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.